All right, let's make sure everybody can hear us. I know they can hear me. I don't know if that you're coming in. This always happens to me. Let me see. Let me see.
No Jeff.
Okay, now Jeff. Now we have a Jeff.
Now is there a Jeff?
Now there's a Jeff.
Am I coming in clear?
Ron is quiet. Okay, that's because Ron had vocal settings.
Yes, Jeff. Woo! Yay! Welcome, patrons and watchers of the time stream, to another Dungeon Cooldown. I'm Jeff Cannata, and I'm joined by Ronald Ogden. Hey, Ron, how are you?
I'm surviving, Jeff. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to Wednesday, though. That's for sure. And I'm looking forward to today because we pushed out some new merch this morning. I've been working on that this week, and we get to talk about Uggo today. So.
Yeah, we get to talk a lot of Uggo. A lot of people have been wanting to talk Uggo.
Yeah.
Let's just briefly mention the new merch. Ron has been master of the merch store, working very hard, and I'm completely blowing it out of the water. It's incredible. The number of new things that we got mugs. We got Life is Pain mugs.
Yep.
We got Vardo bumper stickers. I think the Vardo bumper sticker was actually a patron suggestion.
It was.
So there you go. You know what? You want stuff? We're here to make your dreams come true at the Dungeon Run.
Yes. There's even a baby Araban onesie.
Come on.
A baby onesie.
That's reason to have children in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Maybe the only reason to have children. I don't know.
The only reason is the baby onesie. The baby Araban onesie, yes.
We've got Kiss Cut stickers. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds delightful. These are incredible. I'm so excited. Thank you, Ron, for all your hard work, and thank you, patrons and watchers of the time stream, for your suggestions and getting into that merch store and buying stuff and making it all worthwhile for us. We're excited, and like I said, if you have specific things that would be cool and you would want, let us know. Ron is doing a great job adding stuff. We're going to continue adding new items month to month. So
if you're not part of the Discord, you should be. I watch like a hawk the show Suggestions channel. So you guys make sure to get in there and give us your suggestions.
Yes, like I said, the Vardo sticker is directly a result of a listener suggestion. I know there's another one that is in the hopper that's currently being made. That was another listener suggestion. So we're aiming to please. So thank you for that. Also, I believe I can say this: the discount codes for patrons are, if not already happening. Right, Ron?
Yes, they are. Absolutely. They are already. I put that out this morning as well on Patreon. So you guys make sure to. I'm hearing that it's hard to hear me, so let me change that. I'm not sure why it's hard to hear me.
I can hear you fine. I don't know what's going on.
That's good. Maybe that'll help. Now it's a little hot. There we go. I think that was fixed. It looks like the mixer was turned down in.
Oh, all right. Yeah. We obviously did not have a new episode of the Dungeon Run last week. We were off honoring a day off of Twitch, which is a cause that all of us here at the Dungeon Run support. And Wednesday night show, all of the live digital item proceeds are going to go to charity in support of that cause as well. So thank you for understanding that it means a lot to us, and you know, it was Wednesday night is our Twitch night, and we decided to honor that. A lot of creators were not streaming on Wednesday in support of that cause, and we certainly want there to be less hate and less bullying on Twitch and all platforms. So we decided to lend our silence to that, and hope that silence was deafening for Twitch.
And just so everyone knows, the charity that Wednesday's proceeds will benefit is Color of Change.
Yes, thank you.
You can find out what they're all about at colorofchange.org.
Jeff is tinny or in a tunnel or something. I don't know what that's about. I am not in a tunnel, I promise. I'm in my basement, which I guess is kind of a tunnel.
Well, isn't the human existence just a tunnel of emotion? Isn't that what it is?
I certainly feel like I'm in a tunnel, and there's no light at the moment.
Yep,
Hopefully we'll get back to there to a point where there's light. Ron,
yes?
Everybody was excited to have you on the Cooldown because there's been so much Uggo upheaval, if you will.
Upheaval. Yeah.
And so before we even get into questions, a lot of which deal with that topic, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of just talk about I know that you've spoken at length about the decision,
yes.
the sacrifice in Thorn, but I think more interestingly at this point in time, the ramifications for that in the first big battle post losing levels. Yeah. Do you have any regrets? Are you worried? How are you feeling?
Well, I don't know that I don't have any regrets personally. Ron doesn't have any regrets. Ron made a choice based on the story,
right.
with assistance from you and the rest. So I feel very strongly and confident in that choice. I made the choice and moving forward. I don't know if Uggo's had enough time to really contemplate whether it's a regret for him or not. I think the consequences of that action have immediately shown themselves.
That moment when Uggo got knocked unconscious.
Yeah, from one attack. It's fine. Yeah. It's totally fine. By the way, there is a GIF, I think, the last time you did 40 plus points of damage to me, and that was earlier in the series. So, it's been fun. It's been fun lately. I think that choice and the way that you interacted with me on that and the way that we came to that decision is really cool because, I had always been thinking about it, and I constantly try to think about it, but I love it when people bring it up, but raise the stakes, right? And that's what that was. That was okay, I'm getting to the end of this Uggo arc that we've been building. Well, one, I got to give myself something. And two, I've got to give the watchers something because otherwise it's not entertaining. So, and of course, all of you guys in the cast as well to work off of. So for me, it was that. It was what's more here? What's the most here? So yeah, no regrets, none whatsoever.
Well, kudos to that, and I, honestly, it's awesome to see a player jump over the cliff with and with such confidence and it's, to me, that's what's exciting about D&D and improvisational storytelling at all, is that ability to just trust fall. Yep. Right, that's what it was. It was Uggo trust falling hard.
Absolutely.
And it's so cool. As I think a character that had a lot of really dense, juicy backstory from day one, that you came to the table with and brought that to me and had a very, very detailed and emotional backstory for Uggo that was always percolating, but took 90 plus episodes to finally arrive at that place where we could really present it to the audience and explore it. How did you feel about how long that took to get to Uggo? And then, I feel like the 10 levels and 90 episodes it took to get there allowed you / us to make that weighty decision and take Uggo into a different place. And if for whatever reason, if we had all gone to Thorn early, it would have played out so differently, and there wouldn't have been an opportunity to do something like that.
Absolutely. Having played in numerous multi-year campaigns, and playing with a lot of individuals who are very interested in long-term storytelling, it felt normal to me that this was the amount of time to get to that kind of meaty existence. But I really think a lot of what transpired in Thorn was a direct result of the experience Uggo had in Olsvach.
Right.
100% that. Going to a place where they tried to do a thing and it didn't go to plan. And because it didn't go to plan and it kind of all fell apart, they weren't able to do anything really, to help that place. Because this was Uggo's home, I don't think Uggo was going to let that happen. And right. It was kind of Ron's purposeful reasoning, of there was a lot of like, well, Uggo seems to be making a lot of speeches and not doing anything. and some of that is absolutely on purpose because, Uggo's wise, but he doesn't have the intelligence to understand how to run a city.
Right.
It was very kind of you to give give Uggo the individual or a couple of individuals in Thorn to sort of trust with that, to help him with that. But I knew that a wise decision from Uggo would be possible, or is at least within the cards of the existence of Uggo. And so that was what I was struggling with a lot while we were there. Is like, okay, what's the wisest decision here to try to even if it's not save Thorn, just to change it for the better. And that was, when I first entered, it was like, we'll do a little bit with the ancestors, and it'll be cool because maybe it'll take all my rages for a day or something like that, and it'll be a cost. But then you did the same thing I did, which was raise the stakes even higher, to the point of that it kind of freaked out Jared, which to me was like on the whole thing. That was really what ended up. It was in a real way, Jared. Thank you for that, because you gave me a gift as a player. You gave me the gift of making that choice even more weighty than it already was. Right. And that is an example of something that I really love, that I've always learned in improv, which is make the other person look brilliant. Right. And that's what both you and Jared did in that environment. You made me look brilliant, and I really appreciate that. Another
improv idiom that I'm sure you've heard is make the hole bigger, right? There's a problem or there's a hole, right? Make it bigger, make it worse, invest in it more. And I think that's exactly what Jared did in that moment. It was really cool.
He did. It was cool. It's very cool.
Yeah. All right, let's check out some of these patron questions that we have posted every week before the cooldown. There is a post on our Patreon for you to submit questions for the two folks that will be on the cooldown that week. So keep an eye out for that if you want to have your question answered on the show. You don't have to even be here live to get your question answered. You can just have to respond to the post. So there's a bunch of really juicy questions here. Yeah. Here's a good one. Dr. Sparks says, Ron, Uggo has had a very interesting last few days. Do you think he fully understands the ramifications of leaving Thorn in the state it is in to continue the Heroes of Bingle's quest? Do you, Ron, really think Thorn is in safe hands, or do you feel something bad is in store for the city by the time you get back there?
So it has, I agree with you, Dr. Sparks. It's been a very interesting last few days for Uggo in so many different ways. No, I don't think he really understands the ramifications of leaving Thorn in the state as it is. I don't know that Uggo has even gotten past the ramifications of his own decisions personally. Starting to. First battle after is pretty good indicator that he should start wondering. But I think you are seeing a different Uggo. Already, I think you should be seeing a different Uggo. One who's contemplating more the dangers that he's in. And that's not just because the barbarian changed. It's also, Lesliana told him to be careful. Torvald told him to be careful. So there's a lot of very smart, powerful people that he knows that are you need to be careful. And in addition to the removal of all of that barbarian-based anger, his anger isn't gone, right? The anger of the situation, that's one thing I've learned about anger. It never goes away. It just never goes away. It's a thing you adapt to and use in a harness. It becomes a tool. And that's kind of the story of anger I've been telling with Uggo, is that his anger is a tool. And so the natural abilities that drive his rage, his anger, and turning it into rage no longer exist. So his anger is just there. But in addition, he's done something that has helped him understand his anger even more so than before. And I think he still has to go through that process. And he's going to mourn. There's going to be some mourning. There's going to be some mourning in the loss of that part of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Losing 7 levels of barbarian. I don't know what that's like personally. I'm not a barbarian and I don't have levels, so I don't know. But I know what losing a skill that you don't practice over and over again is. That I do understand. I used to be a very good bassoon player, and I no longer play bassoon, so I no longer know how to. So that I know. And one thing I do know is I miss that. I miss that skill. I miss that ability. So I think that will play.
I've heard that if you don't play, you lose it sooner than you think. All right, moving on.
You know I love your dad jokes. You know I love them. I do. I just had to give you that response.
we just got a hype train, a level. What is it? Level 4, level 3,
now,
yeah.
Level 4.
Thank you to all the folks giving us gift subscriptions. Goofus McDorf. I can't speak. Goofus McDorkle, Dyson Capes, even our own Morgan Peter Brown with some gift subscriptions in there to get that hype train going. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it.
I do want to say that one last part of that Dr. Sparks there is no, I don't think that Thorn is safe. I know Jeff, and one thing I've learned about trusting Jeff is also to not trust Jeff in a different way. Well, I say not trust you. The character should not trust you. Uggo should not trust Jeff. None of the party should trust Jeff. The players who play those characters absolutely should, but those characters themselves should not. So I do not think it's safe. Better off than it was. Yes, I believe that Jeff will give that big of a choice hearty consequences to back up the choice. So that I trust in Jeff. But given the state of the world, the amulet and Calcutta and everything else that's going on, I'm not sure that Ron trusts that anywhere we've been is safe as it was we left it. Like, I'm just not sure that that's the case. Yeah. And that's just a reality. Yeah, that's just reality.
Place. Yeah, I mean that's where we're sort of in this Act 2 place, and I think that's what it should feel dangerous all the time. And, I mean the thing that you pulled off that I never thought you could is, kind of what you just said, which is convincing the Orcs of Thorn that anger is a tool instead of a crutch as well. Yep. Because I really thought that was going to be an impossible thing to do in a short time, and you figured out a way to really drive that point home, and kudos to you for that. I think in a lot of ways, the Orcs of Thorn are much more self-sufficient than I ever thought they would be able to be when you guys had to leave. So I mean, that's impressive. Yep. Dr. Sparks also had a question for me. He said, Jeff, you have done a great job allowing the players space to explore their characters. Do you ever intentionally craft situations or NPCs to help force players into dealing with aspects of their characters that they have been putting off? That's an interesting question. I don't think of it that way. I guess in a sense, yes, but I don't think of it like, well, now it's time for them to deal with something that they've been putting off. It's more like, what's the story we're telling and what makes sense in this place that we've gotten to, and trying to, I mean, I think that the goal of a storyteller or group of storytellers is to turn the screws and find the places that force moments to happen. And I try to do that. I try to create, situations where the players have to deal with things that they have set up, or that we have set up together, or that will make them play their character in a way that creates decisions, that creates introspection, that really makes them focus on what they want, like who these people that they're playing are. I think that should be the goal for all of us, not just me. But I don't think of it like, well, now it's time to make them face something. It's more an organic kind of process of what's the story we're telling, and what are some consequences that can come of past decisions, and what are things that will mean something to these characters. Going to Olsvach and having Civ reconnect with his old friends just makes sense from a story perspective, right? It also makes Civ confront these things that he maybe has been putting off, but it's not because we want Civ to confront things. It's just an organic place for our story to go.
Especially when you're doing something at least adjacent to the hero's journey. That naturally, once you get to know the hero's journey and start to practice it more, that sort of falls in line with things that I've experienced. And absolutely, what I've experienced in storytelling with you is those things kind of just they kind of naturally appear. Because when you have a want, you then need things to direct that want, and those things I see in my experience come up pretty easily when you do that.
And I've really tried to take the philosophy of no side quests. You know, I know a lot of people in the Discord talk about the side quests that the group have been on, and that's fine nomenclature to use. But my perspective on it is that everything that the group has dealt with is as a direct result of the world state. You know what I mean? Like, what the situations that have all brought us to this place have ramifications in Thorn, and have ramifications in Bingle, and have ramifications in Olsvach and Axbright and everywhere, right? The world is going through something, and all the peoples of the world are having to deal with that in very different ways. And the characters in our story are all peoples of that world, right? So I try not to think of it like, oh, well, now there's a side quest to go off and to do this other thing. It's like, well, no, all these events that we've been dealing with have results that are affecting everybody, and the group has to decide where their priorities are. And I think there's been, I don't know if you've sensed this, Ron, but I think there's been a little bit of, I don't want to say frustration, but just, there's a difference between, I think, our first act of our story, which was very, like, it was a direct line smashing into Calcutta Theed, right? It was, everything was leading up to the volcano and meeting Calcutta Theed face to face. Like, that was where we were heading, and it felt like this locomotive. And then once that happened, and it was like, okay, boom, now the world is really in danger all over the place. What do you do? And I think from the audience's perspective, that can feel a little, and maybe from your player's perspective, I'm curious what your perspective is, but that can feel a little overwhelming and like, oh my God, there's too many things, and don't waste your time over here and don't waste your time over there. But from my perspective, like, that's the juicy fun is, what's the priority? Where do you go next? What do you do? The world is now open. But I'll let you talk about that.
You know, I kind of look at it like the Cold War, which is really what we're in, right? Like, in a real way, Calcutta Theed has developed a Cold War. And we are just a few who know that there's a war going on, which is why you continue to hear Uggo be like, no, we need to talk to people, because when you know a war is going on, things change. And so I think a little bit of it is in the storytelling, it feels like an act 2 in that, okay, nothing is what it was like before. Things are different, and now it's dangerous. In this kind of danger, an act 2 is going to feel punishing, and it's going to feel, it should, in a real way, dangerous. So I think you've done a really good job of that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and part of no one likes a group of stories of heroes that always win. Just no one likes it. It's boring. It doesn't reflect a reality around us. I don't think people really can really tie to that. You have to have some loss, right? There's some fault or some mistake or whatever wording you want to use, and that gives everything else more weight. And I think that's what we're seeing is there's a lot of stuff messed up, and we aren't knowing how to handle it. So of course the world doesn't. So I think that's compelling personally, and I have enjoyed it. Is it rough? Is it hard? For sure, of course. But that's what's meaty about it. That's what, when things get hard and difficult to deal with, you look to your friends and family to help you. In my experience. And so in this case, that's exactly what Uggo's doing, and it seems, at least for the time being, seems to be helping Uggo deal with what's going on in the world. So from my perspective, I enjoy it a lot.
Well, I'm glad, and I love this notion of starting out with, hey, we're in a story where we're gonna save the world. We're gonna do good and save the world. And then at a certain point it goes like, well, what does that mean to you? How? Who? what? That, you know, it's great when it's like, take the ring to Mordor. Okay, I'll take the ring to Mordor. Clear, direct. Got to take the ring to Mordor. There's challenges along the way, but we know we got to take the ring to Mordor. Right. But I love the stories where it's like, well, Mordor isn't the only problem. You know, like there's a lot of problems. Who are you? Like, what does saving the world mean to you? What are the things that the heroes of Bingo prioritize? Right. I think decides what their story is. Like what things matter and what does it look like to save the world? Do you save the boy or let them take him? Like those kinds of wonderful shades of gray. What does it mean? And that's the kind of story I think we're all trying to tell here.
Yeah, and it's good that we have you at the head table of it, because you give us a great way to tell those stories. Because I don't know I just, since you brought it up, the Jan Mo decision, I had never experienced in a D&D game before. And so it was hard, man. It was such a hard decision. Uggo made it seem like he knew exactly what he wanted, but Ron was going like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know. And I still don't. Like, I still don't know. I hope that we made the right decision, but, you know, that's the thing, is it's consequences of choices made. Aren't always black and white. They're often gray. Even in our own worlds, that they are like that. And I think that's what's cool about this story, is that there's a lot of gray here. There's a lot of gray. Yeah.
Well, Dustin Capes is pointing out that my analogy is poor. Says that Mordor was not the only issue and the party had to split. I'm aware of that.
I almost said that. I almost said it myself, but yeah.
I'm not trying to give short shrift to Lord of the Rings, but I was trying to just say that, you know, there was an aspect of that was just like,
here's your quest. Right? Let's go on the quest.
Frodo and what's his bucket? His pal. What's his friend? What can I think of his?
Jeff. I'm not going to answer that. You should know this.
Sean Astin?
Yes, Sean Astin is the correct answer. Yes, that is correct. If ever there was a Samwise Gamgee, it would be Sean Astin, because he was.
Anyway, I love this question. This comes from Anna, who says, "Hello from Australia." Hello, Australia.
Good eye, mate. That's horrible. I'm sorry.
As a new viewer of the Dungeon Run, yay, welcome. Is there an arc or episode that you think is a great jumping on point that doesn't require someone to try to watch 90 episodes? Are there any episodes scattered throughout the series that you think are pivotal to understand what is currently happening? It's a bit of a daunting task to try and catch up to current streams, and I want to be able to watch live with everyone else. Well, Anna, I will let Ron answer this, but I know that the Discord is rife with suggestions on this one. This is a recurring problem, and the Discord, I urge you to join the Discord, and there are lots of folks there with great opinions on this, great essential episodes and episodes that you can skip or skip parts of if you want to, you know, power through to get to live. There's also watch-alongs in the Discord, specific sections that people are watching along, and you can put in your own name, and people will sort of ride along with you as you're watching your, your back episodes, and they will interact with you and not give you any spoilers. So it's a great community that has lots of suggestions for this. But Ron, I'll let you answer as well.
Well, you also do a wonderful job of summating at the beginning of every episode, and it often reminds me of watching, like a recent one. I watch what we do in the shadows, and they do a pretty good job. I love that show. It's hilarious. They do a pretty good job of like previously on, and so I really feel like yours do great with that. But I also, people say like, well, how do I get, like, it's a lot of television, right? It's a lot. We're almost at 400 hours. That's insane.
That's a lot.
But there's one thing that I've learned about diehard D&D players, and that is they read. And so if you read, I would like you to show me one book where you're like, you know what? Can I just get the Cliff Notes on Lord of the Rings so I can start at Fellowship? I highly suggest, and it will be worth every moment of your time, to start from episode 1. Fast forward through our combat if you wish. That's probably the vast majority of it. And on that, because that's what we believe, or at least I believe strongly, we're also working on, as Morgan has indicated, some recap style things. The difficulty of that is we got so many hours to go through that's going to take us a little time to accomplish well. So, like Jeff said, rely on the Discord community. The community does wonderful. I was just talking to Branded Nerd, and she's on her 4th rewatch.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable to me, man. It's crazy. I think Renee, I Am the Raven Queen, said she's on her 5th or something like that. Now she does a lot of our wiki, and that's a thing you should absolutely check out as well. Is the Dungeon
It's incredible.
Wiki.
The wiki is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible, and so much of that work goes in from our community. Dyson Capes, I Am the Raven Queen, and many others. So there are a lot of ways for you to, even if you don't get caught up, at least understand some context, because you can go to the wiki and go, oh, I see, I should go watch that episode because it's related to this thing. So highly suggest that. Thank you so much, everyone who does the wiki. We really appreciate
It's incredible, and we are in your debt. Scotty CC83 in the chat says, best hours I've ever spent. So thank you, Scotty, for that. Another thing is that Breba and I, around episode 67, I want to say, could be wrong, could be off, but around that area, we did a comprehensive, with clips and everything, recap of up to that point. It was right up till after the team came back from their journey back in time. And that is on YouTube. You can find that recap. I think if you just search for the Dungeon Run recap, that'll get you up to, high 60s of episodes. If you want to do that.
In some of our playlists, if I remember correctly. I think we have it as a playlist.
I think it might be.
Breba said it was episode 63.
Oh, 63. Okay, thank you. And I think that does a really good. I mean, we've tried really hard to make it like everything you need to know to jump in right here. But I will also say there are some great moments. There are some wonderful, wonderful moments that are worth seeing in real time and set up some payoffs that work really, really well. So,
absolutely.
But thank you for that, and also thank you, Justin, for answering Anna right here in the Patreon page.
I also like Bulgarian's suggestion. If you watch it on 2x speed, then it's only 2 hours long.
Yeah, I can't recommend that, but I guess it works for some. I will.
I do it watching programming videos.
Oh, well, that's different when it's instructional. But your brain works at 2x speed, so I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Justin Weaver also said, my question is the merch store okay for international shipping?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So there you go. Easy question to answer. Yes. Madam Mouse says, Jeff, is there a chance for more Tales of Ein episodes in of some other NPCs in the future? Sure. Anything's possible. I don't have any specific plans for that, but we shall see. Ron, how well do you think Uggo will adapt to not being a barbarian anymore?
I think that answer is directly tied into how well the family adapts to Uggo not being a barbarian anymore. Which so far, no spoilers, but it hasn't been exactly the greatest experience. But that's what happens when you run into some demons. So, I think
stay
Uggo
tuned.
will, I think stay tuned. I'm confident that Uggo will be able to, with the help of his family, navigate that difficult task and path. But we'll see. Maybe not.
Paste Pot Pete says, Ron, how exciting is it that the version of level 20 Uggo that we got to see in the one shot, which was our last episode on caffeine, is almost certainly going to be entirely different from what level 20 Uggo would look like now? Have you developed a mental path forward for Uggo's new levels?
I think I've been laying the groundwork for the mental path of Uggo's new levels for a while now, with the help of Jeff and the Candle Queen. Ron. Now, Uggo, I don't know if he's prepared yet or not, but we'll find out. I think that's going to, again, more of like what Jeff has in store. And I don't know if many of you know this, but I'm kind of challenging Jeff with all of this because Jeff has never been, he has openly admitted that he's never been a gods kind of D&D DM. And so I have kind of,
for that matter.
Right, I was going to speak in the context of D&D, but of course, I've pushed him a little bit in that direction. Just a little, with the help of Civ or of Jared as well. So I'm excited to see what now that we've kind of forced him in that direction, to see what he does with it, because there's a lot of cool. He's already done a lot of really great things with the ancestors and with I'm assuming by the response of the audience with Fahima and the things that she's gone through, and James and the things that he's gone through, which are extraplanar, essentially gods, right? Shothar God is essentially the same thing as that a god is in context of D&D. Obviously, they're very different in the world of D&D, but in how they function as a DM, they're very similar. So I'm excited to see how that plays out in a way that isn't just this all-encompassing dread and is more of a person, more of a god of like light and truth. So I'm excited about that. But for me, it's I'm excited that level 20 Uggo is a very different level 20 Uggo than what we did for the last on Caffeine. But I don't know. There's so much, man, because Jeff and I have been working on Oath of the Family as a subclass, and we had only worked on up to level 3 as the work I've done. I had done some previous stuff on like if we ever do get there, what would it may look like. But now it's going to be something that I have to like get done quickly because it's coming quick.
Were you planning to take Uggo's next level as a barbarian level?
No.
Okay. You were going to take another paladin level.
Yeah, I was done with barbarian levels. Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Well, mostly because the story kind of drove Uggo that way, right? Like I've been letting the story drive that, even from the decision to become a paladin. If anybody remembers, there was a toss up between paladin and cleric because of the way that things went down. So once that barbarian level was done and he understood that like, oh, there's a different path that I can take and it's the one that I choose rather than the one that I was born with, then I'm going to go choose that because this is my choice now. I have a little bit more, at least I feel like I have a little bit more, Uggo has a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Weight in the game.
Yeah.
So, I can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither. Yeah. It is really wonderful undiscovered country that we're in. It's cool.
Yeah.
Also, Paste Pot Pete says, Jeff, how much does the passage of time play into your storytelling? Do you treat it more like a video game, role-playing game, where the world remains kind of static until you hit certain story beats, or are you actually tracking days, weeks, etc.? There's just so much for our heroes to do, and I've been concerned about choosing the right path or the right time.
Sorry about that.
I don't think it's one or the other for me. Sometimes it's getting here triggers a thing. Like, Braca wasn't going to do anything until Uggo got there. That was he wanted to confront Uggo, and so he was waiting until the heroes got there to confront Uggo. But there's definitely things that, because stuff takes time, has happened, and it was very conscious choice on my part to have the Warden Visions knock the team out for 2 weeks at a time, right? That's very important, that there's stuff can happen in the interim while they're sort of out of commission. And similarly, letting things go. I think the long period of time in getting to Torval and Diptha had ramifications. That's not a small thing. So it's yes and no. I think we're trying to find it organically and what makes sense and what matters and all that stuff.
What I find difficult as a player is the passage of real time versus the passage of time in the story. So we have a week on average between our interactions as characters, but our characters' interactions are constant. They're constantly together. So I find that difficult because as a human being, time manifests and matters to me, right? So it's hard to keep that in track. That's why I really appreciate people like Aegis 13 who are like, well, guys, to keep this on a level,
invaluable.
It's only been like 3 months. And you're like, oh wow, it has only been 3 months.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Aegis wrote the timeline up. It's on the wiki, the link on the wiki, link in the Discord. Aegis is amazing and puts a lot of effort into it. And not only is it just awesome to get the timeline, but he writes it in a way that is fun and referential and has inside jokes that you only get if you know the show. And I recently revisited it and it's tickled me. The way it's written is wonderful. So thank you, Aegis, for that.
Thank you, Aegis.
It would be interesting, Ron, I think, to do a show like this where after every session, all the players have to write what they did during the week.
Yeah.
And you do it in real time.
Yeah. I think that's the concept of D&D's downtime activities. I think that's kind of
similar
to that. But yeah,
it'd be cool to do it like a show where we just tuned in and saw this little window, but then there was a week of time, and then we tuned in again. I mean, it'd be challenging.
I think that's more procedural, right? I think procedural kind of fits that more often. If we were like a mystery team or something like that.
Yeah. It's hard for me too. I struggle with that as well. I mean, we're in a situation now where we're heading back into the holidays again. It would be fun to do Stranger's Fate again, but it's like, well, does Stranger's Fate happen every 2 months in this world? You know?
Hey, when you forget your past, you have a lot of holidays. It's just one of them.
I guess. Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again.
The year is 2 months long in Ein because the sun sets everywhere at the same time. I don't know. It's complicated.
Because we forgot how the day works.
Yeah.
That was why it was kind of funny when I asked you, like, is there time zones? Or you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
You don't think about, it's like, I don't want there to be time zones in our world. Right. Anyway, let's see. What else have we got here?
Well, Morgan says every Ein holiday feels exactly like Christmas. Well, yeah.
It's just a different holiday, but it also feels like Christmas.
We have history. The reason we have holidays is because there's history. If you've forgotten your history, then your holiday is the same holiday over and over again. And Stranger's Fate makes sense to me that would be your holiday. It's like, I don't know any of you. Way!
Yay! I still don't know
don't know who any of you are.
That's amazing. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat we can take? We got some more.
I had a question from Pyroclastic Flatulent.
Oh,
which I'm assuming is a reference to Fahima.
Oh, yes, of course.
Are you going to stay Paladin for a while, or are you going to multi-class with something else? I think I probably will stay with Paladin. With the caveat that I might take a level or two of fighter, just so I can get the second wind and all that kind of stuff. And the only reason I didn't do that before is because I didn't think Uggo was smart enough. But I now think that we've seen the benefits that Civ has gotten from doing that kind of thing. So I think Uggo will be like, oh, maybe I could do that. Maybe Civ could teach me to be a fighter a little bit, and I can get those things. So it's going to, again, my choices in class are typically set in story first and then what I want second.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that's how it should be.
I don't always do that. Sometimes it's min-maxing, but in this case, because we are a storytelling team, that's how I've been treating it. Yeah.
Speaking of min-maxing, there is a question here. Oh, where did it go? Where did it go? Somebody asked who should be the new tank. Where did that go?
Should Lily be the new tank? Or Fahima, the tank of the wizard tank?
Oh, here it is. David Gen Pro. Who do you think is likely to be the new tank in combat now that Uggo needs to be protected? James with Armor of Agathis, Wildcard Fahima, or Civ, as he eventually did versus the demons jumping out from the periphery to draw focus from the badly injured? What will it take for Uggo to accept his new protected role in combat?
I mean, I think Uggo's already really accepting that. I think he's still trying, being weakened does not mean you are weak. Right?
Great way to say it.
Just because you are lacking in any way, how you define whatever lack is, that does not mean you are full of lack. You still have worth. You still have abilities and things that you can do in your life. So I think that's how Uggo has already been kind of, Uggo already understands that because he's already gone through something where there was a lack and then he realized, oh, I'm not a weak. That was kind of where the Thorn story line came from and my personal experience. So that's where you're going to see things like, well, Uggo can still use his divine abilities to help his friends. But I do think it's going to be a lot, again, the family steering him right, because this is new territory for him that he doesn't understand, that he doesn't really know. He's only going with his gut on what is right, which is why you see him like when Lily says run, Uggo's like, okay, I'm running. Well, what do I stop? Do I keep running? Like, you're not with me. Where do I go? So I think it's that where it's like he's listening and being wise in that what his family is telling him is the thing he should probably be doing. Don't listen to his own stubbornness in this case because it might mean he's dead. But then at the same time, he doesn't necessarily have all of the, oh, right, I can stop running, and I don't have to necessarily run all the way like I did. I could stop a little bit. So I think that's kind of my way of trying to show that Uggo is dealing with a variety of things that he doesn't know how to handle yet, which is, one, feeling vulnerable, being actually vulnerable. He's always been emotionally vulnerable, but he's never been really physically vulnerable until now. The last time he was is when he was a kid, and he was trying to get away from that as much as he could. So that's, I think, where Uggo's really like, he feels like a vulnerable, like a child again, which I think you will see manifest in certain ways.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be...
I love that. I mean, even from the very first episode, even from episode 0, before we had an audience, the one of the defining characteristics of Uggo is like, I'm going to run straight at that danger and confront it head on, and to see that character handle things differently or realize, oh, I can't rely on that anymore.
Well,
pretty cool.
I mean, and a lot of that's because of the storytelling that you've helped us create. But I think it's also just tied into, like, before, going into danger was what Uggo wanted because the pain allowed him to deal with what was going on. But it also gave the people around him, that's a clear decision point that we have to solve.
Yeah.
Now that's not around. Now there isn't this, like, clear decision point other than Uggo could die easily. And that's a decision point now that they're... So in a way, Uggo is still the tank. He's just off tank.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. Yeah. Very cool. Well, we kind of been through all the patron questions. Do you have any hopes for? I mean, I'm sitting right here, so you might not want to say it to my face, but any hopes for what happens next week, or this? I should say this week, day after tomorrow.
I'm trying to decide whether the thing that we have to deal with as a reward from the demons is going to be worse or better than the demons. That's where I'm at. I'm like, well, congratulations, you triumphed over the demons. Here's more bad stuff.
Yeah.
So, I can say though that I think city guards are probably more desirable to deal with than demons who are ripping pieces off of themselves to throw at you. So that's just a general feeling though. Maybe not.
Yeah. No, I think that's safe to say. Although this guard could be ripping parts of himself off.
I mean, that's true. And we're all really hurt right now too, which is, we're not at full strength where we could resist as easily as we could before. Yeah. So decisions change.
Morgan in the chat says that James is less than 5 HP right now.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of HP.
And I think Uggo has a spell left.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the group is, I don't want to say anything because who knows how you guys are going to handle it. But I think, generally speaking, if the group is trying to clear their name in the city, attacking the city guards, not the best way to do that.
Yeah, for sure, sure. But also, I do want to point out while we were playing the last time we were playing, got to my turn. I was like, I'm going to attack twice. No, I'm not. Nope. I got one attack. I don't get two now. Not anymore. Yeah. I got another level before I get two. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but so you did level last week.
I did.
You're level 4, so that's pretty cool.
Which was very kind of you. Thank you.
Hey.
I got back some of the strength and charisma I had lost. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
some
already,
more HP.
And more HP, which is great. But yeah, it's when you realize I hadn't realized that was the part that kind of skipped my realization was that I was also going to lose both my attacks. Because I was like, okay, I'll grapple and then I'll run and it'll be fine. Oh no.
I honestly think of all the things that Uggo lost, I think the one that might be the hardest on the team is Sentinel.
Yeah.
I cannot count the number of times that had a huge impact on the fight.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Just halting a monster that was trying to leave.
Yep.
Is huge.
Yep.
So, yeah. Morgan says Jeff is correct. Yeah. But also, I have to say, as a DM, I'm really glad you don't have Sentinel anymore. That was the bane of my existence.
I bet you are.
Thing.
You no longer have the, even if you attack someone else, the advantage was attack is at disadvantage, and even if you hit them was at reduced damage. Now they don't have that either. So
yeah.
Yep.
But exciting. I love that things are changing. Yeah. Even 90 episodes in, it's fundamentally different dynamic. Which kudos to you for being willing to do that, and kudos to the team for rolling with that punch.
Well, I think it's also something we all know that we don't see that in other games, right? You don't really see that a lot right now, and I think that's kind of what's a little bit of driving it too. Is like, if anything, we got to keep this fresh for ourselves, let alone the people we're entertaining. So if we're not entertained, y'all are not going to be entertained. So we got to make sure it's entertaining for us too. So
are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Any last questions? We only got about 5 minutes left of the cooldown. If there's any other questions in the chat,
we can take live questions.
Let's take live questions if folks are interested in that. I'm excited about what you guys are going to do next. Yeah. I think it's going to be fun to be in Turles a little bit. And I'm curious, how, to the extent to which the team will try to fix things or not fix things or what is going to be interesting to see.
Have you been dreading this? Us returning to Turles? Are you excited?
I'm excited.
I mean, both. Was it a start as dread and now excited?
The dread part of it for me, honestly, is there's so many different things here that you could do that the prep has been, exponential, because it's like, well, there's a lot of different aspects of the city. Anytime you go to a big city, it's always like, okay, here we go.
I gotta flesh out an entire city.
Yeah. And so, knowing or not knowing where you're going to go or what exactly is I have a certain sense of the top tier stuff, but there's a lot here. I mean, just from James's perspective, like, again, this is returning to his hometown, and he's gone through a lot. He's learned a lot about himself. The last time we were here, he was completely lying about the truth of it, and now you all know the truth of it, and so in that sense it's a completely different experience. So it's exciting on that level, but there's also just a lot of tendrils that I got to make sure that I'm prepared for.
And you have created them as we've gone on, right? After we left Turles. That's the part I love about seeing this as a player, is you created Turles. We were there. There was a story. It felt full, and like you had done a lot of work, because I know that you did. And so leaving after that, other stuff has occurred that has clearly changed what's happening in Turles. So for me, it's really interesting to learn and find out, like, all right, you've made a problem for yourself. Now, how do you fix it?
I do that a lot. I do that a lot. I make problems for myself.
I had that same experience as a DM, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Someone did have a very good question that I'm very curious about. It was in episode 39, Jeff.
Minute 3,
Itchy
plays the xylophone on Scratchy's skeleton. I'm sorry.
Hits points made you think of your favorite character in literature. Who is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
So episode 39.
Yeah.
Hitch points. I don't know necessarily.
Is that maybe it was a card? Was it like a force card?
I think the real question is, who is your favorite character in literature?
Who's my favorite character in literature? Oh man, what a huge question.
I know, right? I always hated these questions. Like, personally, for my own, like, what's your favorite movie? All of them? Many? I don't know.
Yeah. What did I see
How do I
most
decide?
recently?
That's really what it is.
I mean, I'm tempted to pick a Shakespeare character, but that kind of feels a little bit like a cop out, just because it's like, the big marquee thing. You know, one that pops into my head as a character that I was always been fascinated with, and it really was responsible for sparking my imagination as a kid, is the character of Harry Seldon from the Foundation. Isaac Asimov's Foundation novels. Harry Seldon is the scientist who invented psychohistory, which was this idea that if you had enough data, you could predict the future. Right. And I'm about to make the TV show. I hope it's good. But one of the very first science fiction novels I read was the Foundation Trilogy by Isaac Asimov. It was one of the first books my dad gave me at like 10 or 11, and it just made my imagination explode. I was already into comic books at that point, and so I was already into fantasy storytelling, but like a dense, hard sci-fi novel, and this idea of this guy who you know, here now in the 21st century, where we have big data and data tracking and all that stuff, it's a completely different experience thinking about this storyline, because we think of it in such a the dark ramifications of privacy and exploitation and selling your data and all that. Right. But from Asimov's perspective in the 60s or whenever he wrote that, the idea that this could be an altruistic thing, that this person could use that knowledge and set up ways to amplify the prosperity of the human race thousands of years past his own death. It just was so fascinating to me, and I love that character. I read the prequel book about Harry Seldon that was just not very good, but the Foundation novels and the idea of this man, this guy who like uses science to help not just the world but the universe for thousands of years. I don't know. I love that. So
it's funny that you bring up Asimov, because that's one of my early favorites as well. The Foundation I enjoyed, but the first Asimov book I ever read was the short stories conglomeration called The Gods Themselves.
Yes.
So that second part with the rationals, emotionals, and parentals, that part gave me so much insight into my own existence with my parents, and it still to this day is in the back of my head all the time. I think of that story because it's just so iconic and good for me.
Yeah.
But I have the same love for Philip. I have a healthy love for Philip K. Dick in a similar way, in that there's some dystopianism obviously in Philip K. Dick, but that always fed me as a way to be like, well, then we should prevent that. You know, like that's a window on a thing we don't want to happen, so let's not do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way to think about it. I love it. Cool. That's a cool way to end things. Yeah. It's been so fun talking to you, Ron. I know it's been a tough week, and I appreciate you being here and opening up to the audience and talking a little bit about Uggo. And I'm excited to see everybody on Wednesday. Yeah. Thanks, all of you, for joining us and coming up with those awesome questions. Again, if you happen to be watching this live and you're not a patron, the VODs of these shows are exclusive to patrons for at least a month, I believe we're doing. The older cooldowns we've been putting on our YouTube page, but we are certainly grateful to our patrons for making this show possible, for making the Dungeon Run possible. And if you are not a patron, please consider joining. You can find more info at patreon.com/thedungeonrun. Lots of different tiers of content, extra bonuses and perks that you get for supporting the show. We would appreciate that. I guess that's going to do it.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Until next time.
Humankind.
Be both.
Be both.